our first OWO show residence, we very proud to say that it sold 48 hours after we handed it over to the client. And then we designed something at One Crown Place in the city, and they achieved £17 million worth of sales within 4 weeks. And then Centrepoint, they've sold £36 million worth of property off the back of our designs. In fact, we were with the developer, who was our initial client, and our new clients,
yeah,
and our new clients, a couple who have bought one of the 3-bedroom apartments. And they said in front of Almacanter, we have only bought this because of the design from Angel O'Donnell, which is, lovely. I mean, we're really proud to.
Yeah, that's special.
To hear that. It's really special.
Hi there, I'm Matt Stahl, and welcome to the Super Prime Property Show, where we discuss the world of super prime real estate by talking with leading designers, architects, developers, and agents. This podcast aims to explore the intricacies of the industry, delving into conversations that hopefully inspire, inform, and entertain. Before we get started, please could I ask a favor? If you're not already, could you hit the subscribe button and give us a follow? You can find us on Instagram at Super Prime Property Show. Thank you. Welcome to today's episode of the Super Prime Property Show. Today we're talking to Ed O'Donnell and Richard Angel, founders of Angel O'Donnell, a renowned interior design studio based right here in London. They are well known for having worked on some of the most iconic developments in the capital, namely the record-breaking OWO building, the brutalist Centrepoint, Triptych Bankside, Dumont, to name but a few. With a reputation for creating interiors that win awards, Angel O'Donnell has been transforming both private residential and development projects through their unique design philosophy. Today, Ed and Richard share their journey. They give insights into that design philosophy, share some challenges and successes, and what the future looks like for them. Stay tuned for an inspiring conversation on blending creativity, functionality, as well as reality in the challenging world of interior design. Let's go back to the beginning. Not as far as that, but what prompted you guys to start Angel O'Donnell?
So maybe I'll take this.
Yeah.
So Ed and I met in a previous design studio that we were working at, and we felt we obviously had a connection, and we felt sort of kindred spirits, because we felt that there could be things that are done differently. And at the time, that studio was hampered by one style and one style alone. And obviously, we're all individuals and we want different things from our homes. And so we said, well, why can't we actually turn it on its head and create a design studio that can not have a signature style and really create designs that are suitable for the individuals and the buildings that they've bought property within, or that they are, where they're situated. And so that's what led to us setting up Angel O'Donnell, and also we wanted to be commercial with our decision making and what we were delivering for our clients, because we both have completely different but complementary skill sets.
So what were your roles in the previous business?
So I was a London managing director. So I'm a surveyor by trade, and I was working in property development, and then came to work there as to drive that business forward into the London market. And
I'm creative, so an interior design, and they split their interior design because it was quite a big company, so they split into two teams. So I ran one of the interior design teams there.
Okay.
And my first, Rich was there slightly before me, or a year before me, and then my first sort of design job was with Rich.
Okay.
And it rhymes as well. There we are. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. And we did the pitch, and we both came out going, "Oh, I really like the way you pitch, and I like the way you pitch." And then subsequent conversations happened, and then we find ourselves
and off you went.
Starting it.
Quite complementive skills, really. To have that. I mean, I think we spoke last time. I think every I guess from a developer's background, to have that kind of skill set in a design company, because it tends to keep control of the numbers.
Of course,
is often a sore point.
Yeah, and to understand what the ultimate goal is for our customer, because those goals are going to be different. So for a private individual where it's their own home, it might be that money is no object, perhaps, and their goal is to create something that is both beautiful and practical and fit for their tastes. On the flip side, it might be a developer, and their ultimate goal is to get the property sold and to make a profit. So they want to keep costs down, but equally not compromise on the style and the usefulness of everything that we're designing. So we try and combine all of that, and we try and understand what those goals and aspirations are of our clients quite intimately, so that we can deliver on them, because ultimately that means a happy client.
Absolutely. So that's back in 2019.
Yeah.
2018.
2018, yeah.
2018.
Just before COVID.
Yeah.
So COVID aside, what were the main challenges you faced getting it off the ground?
I think, well, for me personally, I think there's that, it's scary going into a business full stop, to be self-employed, and a challenge is of self-belief, knowing can you do it. And I think we were fortunate to secure a couple of big clients early doors, who are still clients today, I might add, and that gave us the impetus to really go for it. But that, I mean, it was, that's probably the biggest challenge of knowing, right, we've got a proper business now. We've really got to go for it. And for me personally, me being not being a barrier to the growth of the business.
But also, I think it's, for me, from the creative side as a designer, I've had, my trajectory has always been like, I've worked for someone, then I did my own thing, but as a designer, and you get some work, and then, you kind of, oh, this is it. And then the work may dry up. So you go back to working for someone else, and then try another business. When you start a business with someone else, it's really good to have that opposite skill set, because maybe what hadn't happened in the past for me was, knowing people in the other side of the table, the developers or whatever, some of them, and then that's fine. People move on, sales agents and things like that, and word of mouth for private clients. Whereas, Richard's got a great, black book of contacts, but equally for him, it was like, but then what does he have to sell, as it were? So these two things working together kind of, was kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Really.
It's super to allow people to focus on what they're good at as well.
Yeah.
If you get two designers starting up, to split the task, because there's a lot of boring stuff, but incredibly important stuff that gets ignored, billing and all that.
Yeah.
And I always wondered about the design game, because at least with construction, when you bill, it's very easy. When you're going to bill, because you're completing a task and it's relatively regimented. It's monthly valuations typically. And I can imagine starting on your own as a designer, trying to know exactly when you're going to be able to bill at certain amounts, because you obviously need to satisfy the client in certain stages. And that, of course, is quite intangible from the outset, of course.
Very much so. And also having the kind of guts, as it were, like you're kind of like, oh, sorry, do you mind if I ask for payment now? And it's a kind of industry-wide thing, which we were chatting to someone the other day from the SBID, for instance, and, she's really pushing towards not regulating it, but like just making sure that the designers are protected as the client might be as well.
Yeah.
Because it's notoriously bad for that, I think.
I think that's the nature of the industry, where, creatives typically, they want to create, and which is great, but they don't want to focus on that slightly more tedious but necessary part. And I think that we often see other businesses that are maybe where there's a solo creative behind it. So it's pretty lonely when you're working on your own. Or there is a partnership, but they are both creative. So who does what? How do you get those clearly defined roles and responsibilities, which I think is necessary for the success of any business? People need to know what they're doing, and then they're not treading on each other's toes.
And also, I think the client needs to know what different people are doing, because, especially with the designers, you tend to work with a lot of high net worths who are very experienced in dealing with. They're obviously financially very affluent, we say, but they're also very used to negotiating, terms and payment terms so you can be trodden over a little bit, or stretched, should we say, where, so I can see that, must be hard.
Yeah, well, we try and that falls down into
That's
my
camp. It's in your
and I think we're very conscious about that. We've spent a lot of time, effort, and money on our contracts, for example, to protect us and also to protect the clients. And you never really want to have to, bring out a contract after it's been agreed and signed.
Sure.
But it's there in the background so that everyone is moving forward into a very expensive exercise, knowing exactly what they've got to do and when it's got to be done by and what the end result is going to be. And, I think that kind of works for us.
It's almost like out of respect, also shows respect for your client that you spent the time to do that, to put it together, so they also have the comfort and the understanding that you take their business seriously, and what you're going to deliver for them.
100%.
And also understanding that, people can look at the creative process or what you deliver creatively as a kind of, it's just, it's important, but it's not that important. So I think having the gravitas of, talking about the money openly and deciding on the budgets and doing all of that stuff kind of, to your point, sort of shows that you kind of know what you're talking about. Yeah. And this is, it's a serious thing that you're entering into, because it is often a lot of money, and it's not taken lightly.
And then COVID came along.
Came along, and it was hard. Like we had, we just offered a job to someone.
Just signed an office lease.
Yeah, second designer. Yeah.
And suddenly we went into lockdown, and we had to rescind that job offer, which was really challenging. I might add, they subsequently did come to work for us later on down the line. But I think it was hard. But on the flip side, we were lean and we were agile, and there were two of us. So, that partnership, you're not suddenly like a rabbit in the headlights. You can chat and you can strategize, and we can think creatively and outside the box. So we won our first super prime project in COVID, which was an £8 million apartment on Albert Embankment. And it was for
the Dumont.
At the Dumont, And it was a show apartment for the developer, but it was a huge success. We had the challenges of knowing what do you do? We can't import furniture, so it changed the way that we did business. So suddenly we were making everything within probably a 25-mile radius of the perimeter of the M25. So it was dead easy to make things and bring it to site. And yes, it made it a little bit more expensive, but it changed our mindset because we had better quality control, and we could go and see products during the manufacturing process, and albeit in a slightly odd way, social distancing and masked and gloved and everything else. And we digitized everything. So all of our presentations were digital, which we still maintain now.
And also the style in terms of not having a signature one, which we just touched on earlier. And we pushed that client somewhat. Sort of unbeknownst to, it's what we wanted to do, but unbeknownst to us was sort of giving the foundation of how we would then sort of base the rest of the way we sort of approach things and design things, because they were very much corporate in the sense of a big developer, and they were used to this sort of look, and we were like, well, that's, why don't you do this sort of thing with it? And someone took a chance, as it were, and it paid off because it sold pretty much
straight away with all the furniture. And then we were fortunate to win the overall winner at the Society of British and International Design Awards, which is a global platform for interior designers and professional body. And for us as effectively a 2-year-old startup to then go and win that was a huge feather in our cap, and we felt very fortunate to get that.
Do you think that by doing, and we'll get onto your projects in a second, but do you think by doing apartments or projects within these big developments, because obviously they are a development, there's a big, rather than a private client commission, there is a lot of PR behind it, and there's a lot of promotion, that it helps you as a business to get your out there, you could become part of the PR for it?
I think you do, it is, and it's also a gateway to private clients as well, which has been really, really successful. And I think, you're right. A lot of people, I think we've really driven that as well as a business, bringing in, brand and PR as, another sort of tool to put us out there, because like the award, we weren't known, no one knew who we were. So it was a massive, well, who are these guys? Like, why would we go with them? No one knows what they do or how they do it. So those sorts of things really help. And it changed the way we sort of present and everything. Everything's about a narrative and storytelling, so it brings the client on board, and the developer client or the private client, we really take them on that journey now, and, it's super important.
And so, and a lot of the PR is driven by us. So we're there, again, coming back to knowing for the developers, knowing what they want, i.e. to get these properties sold for quickest possible time, maximum amount. We are there driving that PR and driving that storytelling and creating creating press that maybe ordinarily they wouldn't get. Because historically, let's face it, your traditional press wouldn't be interested in writing about show flat. I mean, it hasn't got the story of real people and things. So we've created those stories, and the success that we've had within the press, because we've got so much storytelling behind our designs, has been hugely successful, beneficial for us and beneficial for the clients.
You mentioned that, Angel Donald, that you don't really have a house style. There's no name above the door, etc. What would you say is your design philosophy?
Well, I think it's like the common thread. I mean, we love pattern and color and texture and everything, and the storytelling, interesting things, and made by artisans or found in different places. But I think the common thread is also approach, because we always design for the end user, whoever that may be, whether it's the private client or the imagined buyer of said property. And we listen not only to that, but also look at the architecture of the building, the immediate surroundings, the history of somewhere, if it has it. If it doesn't have it, then it is sort of immediate architecture. Then when you look out of the window, what colours do you see? Or what's, are you 25, 30 stories in the sky, or are you a kind of sort of Victorian terrace level? So
obviously, when you talk about those end clients, and the different ideals around them, that can vary so much. When we spoke last time, we talked about, you had a family from Bermuda, who said they love iconic British hotels, and you had a couple from Florida, so they like jewel tones and huge chandeliers, and then a US couple who wanted a home that could be in Architectural Digest. How do you ensure that each project is unique, and how actually it is tailored to their needs?
Listening,
yeah, absolutely. We, like we said, we ask a lot of questions of people, about their needs and wants and likes, dislikes. Sometimes it's often easier for people to say, "Oh no, I don't like that," but they don't know quite what they want, and so it's like a real sort of careful editing job in the initial sort of phase of all of these things being answered, and then you can kind of then find your way through to, oh yeah, okay, well we can go with this. This will be the starting point, and then it kind of runs away with itself. And
they might not actually realise that they're giving us a brief when they are.
Yeah.
So we'll ask a lot of leading questions whenever we're in meetings, and suddenly you find that there might be a particular colour or a love of whatever it may be, the theatre or something, a little thread that you can then pick out, and then we can dive deeper into that.
Because there's listening, and then there's really listening, and really trying to understand what they're saying to you, what it is that they actually mean, and what they're
And that comes from that comes from the further meetings that you have. Like, we've got a client we're working with, initial meeting, we get the idea, that's great, we start presenting, and then they're kind of comfortable with us a little bit more. So you find out, where they like to eat breakfast, or it might be in bed.
Sure.
So how do we make, I don't know, certain choices on fabrics or something that are a bit more robust, or, so you get quite intimate with people, really, and things that are left obviously behind. And the other sort of, I guess, philosophy that you have, or it's not really a philosophy, but it's just trust is a big thing in design, interior design specifically, because you're trusting your suppliers to back you up with what you need to do, and then client is trusting you to deliver what you said you would, but also to, interpret, well, it's their home at the end of the day, and you want to make it special for them. It's not our home. We want it to look beautiful, and we want, great pictures from it, but ultimately we want to do them they walk in every day and go, I love this place,
We'll also talk about hotels as well. Hotels is quite an easy win for us because of the nature of the clients. They stay in some of the best hotels in the world. And again, we'll pick out common threads about what hotels they like. And
interesting.
So the family from Bermuda, they loved the Ham Yard Hotel. But then there are others who like the Aman chains and whatever it may be. And it could have just be as simple as the bed linen. But we're able to pick these little details out to then it gives us a quite a clear starting point.
Okay. I never heard that before. That makes a lot of sense. You tell a lot by someone by the kind of hotel that they like. And they obviously like different hotels in different parts of the world too. And so their London home, they want that a certain way, you know, and that's the reality of it. Very different to their Miami home.
Clients are citizens of the world.
Yeah.
So, and more often than not, they want their home to be reflective of the city that they're in. Mm-hmm. So, in London, it's got to sing to that. It can't just be some sort of, Ibiza style inspired villa that's, sitting in the middle of a 25-story tower or whatever it is.
Well, and we'll talk a bit about how those towers have changed things in a bit, but so you're 5 years old now, the studio. Yeah. How has it changed then?
There's 12 of us now.
How has that process been to 12? How is the recruiting?
Look, it's hard. It's hard to find people. I think we've been very lucky, and we've had people come and some people go. But they've all been right for the business at that particular life cycle of the business. Yeah. And I think it was a very big decision for us when we took that leap to actually employ someone. It's that suddenly, like I said earlier, you're suddenly like, right, we are properly in it now. This is a proper business, and we're responsible for other people. But what we do now, there is no way that we could do it without these amazing people that we've got around us. So it might be our name above the door, but it's certainly not us.
So total team effort.
Yeah, it's everyone. And we've got and we've been quite particular about people, what individuals do. So everyone does something slightly different, and they know what their roles and responsibilities are. And we're also really proud that it's quite a diverse team. So we're not made up of all designers. We've got people who were estate agents, people who were working for big advertising agencies, people who came from fashion. And it's taking these, what they've learned from another industry and being able to apply it to ours. And I think that's been a real root of our success, that we're not just saying, you haven't worked in an interior design business, therefore
you don't have 5 years super prime experience.
Because it's reflective of how we started it. We're doing different things, so that's and everyone's got an opinion on everything, and it feeds into a much more wholesome and thought out and authentic kind of end product, as it were, how we do things.
Yeah. It's like when you're building a business and you're growing, and suddenly you need to fill a role, and you're rushing around to find and hire that person for that role because you need that task done, and you just keep going, and then suddenly you look up, when actually then you've got this whole team that are you're actually doing so much more than you initially planned. And it's actually quite amazing. And that,
Yeah.
in a way, that is your business. You said that is your business then, you know,
Yeah.
and it's that bit has always been the most difficult,
Yeah.
but rewarding as well.
It is.
Like, and it also is where the value is.
Yeah. I think that's a real pinch yourself moment
Yeah.
for any entrepreneur when they look around and they see.
They're very proud of that.
Yeah,
Very
very
proud.
proud.
Very
Yeah,
proud.
very proud.
Right. I think it's also incredibly cool that you have private clients from around the world, places like New York, Hong Kong, Mumbai, Bermuda, seek out the services of Angel O'Donnell here in London. Why is that, do you think?
I think
Apart from being the dogs.
yeah. Look, you know, we don't deny it that we're in a saturated market, and there are these people. They could choose anyone, and I think often we find ourselves. We are one of, 4 or 5 that they meet, and I think it's down to personality. I would like, that we all get on, and we're very honest, and we will always explain we're going into a relationship now, and we'll tell you the truth. We will challenge you when you need to be challenged, and we will also have those difficult conversations when we need to have a difficult conversation, i.e. something's running late, or whatever it may be. And I think hopefully that commands an element of respect.
And also know that we've got their backs, basically.
Yeah.
Because, we want the best job possible out of the whole process as well. And it's, if we do a bad job, then that's a terrible thing. So I think that's, again, it comes back to the trust thing of knowing that you're going to do something really, really well.
Mm.
But also I think they come to us now because we have invested in this sort of PR side of things, as it were, and put ourselves out there. And, and it was really tough at the beginning to not have a signature style, because people were saying,
I was asking you that.
How are you going to, how are people going to know what you do?
Yeah.
And we were like, well,
what is Angel O'Donnell? And,
what do they stand for? And,
and
it sort of all kind of comes into each other. And then, hopefully it is, you meet like 5 people and it's like, oh, these guys are pretty relaxed and seem like I could sort of work with them every day, or however, how often you need to.
I think also this is from a client at the weekend. So Ed went to the theatre with one of our clients at the weekend, and they were saying that they chose us because we're proactive, and that there was probably an element of complacency with the other 4 businesses that they met, and with us they met with us, and it was a case of they had various thoughts about the property and they were trying to describe it, and we said, well, let's go down there now. Let's just go down, have a look around, and let's talk about it in the property. Let's not wait. And for them, I think that was a big moment where they can suddenly say, oh, okay, great. This is, these guys get things done.
Yeah. It's already, the process had already sort of started, and it was, it was kind of like, oh, I think we're actually sort of designing as we're standing here, and we haven't even engaged yet. And they really loved that. And then
trusted advisor mentality. I think a lot of clients, especially obviously when they're abroad and all over the world, they look a lot to the designers. I think as the ones that they really, I think, confide in a bit more. They trust.
Yeah.
I think that part of maybe the creative process, and they let them in more into their lives because you're talking more personal stuff. Than they always seem to notice that they go when they needed good advice. They tend to always go to the designers. If they've got a good relationship with them.
It's true. I mean, fun enough, we even had one of our clients from 4 years ago come to me the other day saying, "Look, this has happened. Can I get your advice on it?" And it wasn't going to their buying agent, it wasn't going to their lawyer or their builders or anyone. They came to me, and I felt very privileged that, and I was able to, as much as the client consultant relationship, but just as a friend, to say, this is what I think, and in my experience, but you've got to obviously look into it, and I think they were very, very grateful for that. So it is a trusted advisor, and as Ed said, it is a fiercely protecting their interests. We're talking about lots of money, and in a where they try, if they were doing it on their own, they'd be trying to wiggle through various suppliers and things. And how do you actually get to the nub of knowing, is what you're paying, is it good value or not? So we're really transparent with how we charge our fees and everything else. So it's so that there's no ambiguity, and we will make sure that they get best quality and best value.
And also there's an element of it, sort of touching on what we were talking about at the beginning, of like, these people were really successful, obviously, because they've made a lot of money. But this is maybe an area that they are unfamiliar or not confident in. So when we were touching on contracts and things like that, then they can kind of come in and go, yeah, I know all about this is fine, and this is when I want to pay, and all of that sort of stuff. But then you say, well, what kind of, fabric do you want on your sofa? They're like, oh my God, I don't know. So then you kind of can balance all of that out. So they do come to you for that advice, because sometimes it's an area that they don't really they know what they might want or how they want it to look, but they don't really know how to get there. And that's what we do, really.
And what does super prime mean to you?
That is the question.
That is a question. I think for me, it is best in class, and it is something that very few people in their lives will ever be able to achieve. And so it's got to, and it's something that is it's collected. It's something that becomes a collector's piece. So if that's a home or in a piece of furniture, it becomes a modern heirloom that we've created. We haven't just made a table. That's something that they will have for generations to come. And and it's the service that they receive, and where our work, it's where we're creative all the way through and up to that aftercare and the customer care journey, and just looking after them 24/7. So that to me is super prime, and that's something that's expensive. And that's why very few people can experience it, but they expect a lot, and that's what we have to offer.
That's a great answer, Rich.
I'll leave it there.
You guys have also been racking up the awards. You mentioned earlier the SPID award, some Evening Standard awards.
Another SPID, two SPID
two
awards
SPIDs.
Last year, yeah. And we managed to we entered the Andrew Martin last year, which we got into for the first time, which was
top
amazing.
100.
Top 100, wow. And obviously it is award season for interiors coming up in sort of October, November. So JP, our brand director, is busy sort of entering us into various things.
What do those awards mean to you?
Well, originally it was, how do we get anyone to notice us?
Yeah.
Apart trying to get some PR in magazines or online versions, and having the award was almost like having 5 years or 10 years worth of experience, or being around, being in our respective industries for a while. But as Angel O'Donnell, it's 5 years. So various awards mean different things, and I think things like the SBID awards mean a lot because it's voted for by your peers and industry people. So I guess it's a bit like the BAFTAs or something, where it means something because there are people in your own circle doing the same thing and celebrating that sort of craft and design. And Andrew Martin one is great because it is worldwide and it is like down to the 100. So you can't help but be sort of, take your time to pat yourself on the back. There's nothing wrong with sort of celebrating.
Is that your favourite, the Andrew Martin?
They are all wonderful in their own
especially
way.
now that you are in award season as well. Yeah,
exactly. I think for us it is that element where it's voted for by peers and public. It's not, we have shied away from those ones where you have to spend an astronomical amount of money to create a document that to win an award. We just don't think that's quite as meaningful. It's sort of like, whereas if you're paying 100 odd quid to enter into an awards then perfect. And if you win, brilliant. So.
Yeah, well done. So it is obviously very well known that you guys have worked on some pretty iconic buildings. The OWO, the Dumont, Centrepoint, Park Hyatt, name a few. There's a few. Yes. Could you just share with us some of your most memorable projects or a favourite from them?
We always do this after every time that we've finished a project.
That's your favourite?
Well, there's a chance for reflection, isn't there? Yeah. And we always acid test for us is that we'd always want to live in any of the apartments that we design, and they, we have to look at them and say, well, which ones, if we had a rather large amount of change burning a hole in our pocket, which would we buy? I think they've got so many different.
They're all so different, and you have to, without being diplomatic either, for in case people listening, when people listen, I think different things for like Centrepoint is a '60s building, which it was originally quite Marmite for people because it was a brutalist, which is not everyone's sort of go-to architecture, but as years have gone on, people have fallen in love with it. And now that it's a residential building, and we did something there where it was really celebrated and how you can make that architecture look soft and inviting inside, compare it to the OWO, the Old War Office, where it's, historic building, and they've done such a faithful job inside of making it feel, like the hallowed corridors and authentic. And, but then you go to a sort of skyscraper, and that's just super impressive because, the views are just insane. And how do you balance the interior then to make the interior look as impressive as the view that you're looking outside? And, they may not have any original feature. They have an architectural feature by being kind of an interesting, tall building.
Glass everywhere. Yeah. Big roof terraces and
massive roof terraces.
Which is great fun. But so that I think it'd be really hard to pinpoint which one is our favourite because they all have so many different qualities. I think we probably centre back to Centrepoint a lot because I think that for us as individuals, we love. I think we're quite humble and down to earth, and it's quite a down to earth building. Having the ability, because it's directly north, south, east, west, you get these phenomenal sunrise from your bedrooms and sunset in your living room, and then to be able to walk out and go into the heart of Theatreland, drinks in Soho. That's the sort of thing that we as individuals enjoy. So it's not just about our design, it's about the situation and what we like, not just for our clients.
But also it's just cool to be going into all of these buildings.
Yeah, it is.
After however many years doing, as I say, not just the 5 years with Angel O'Donnell, but particularly in these 5 years of such high level.
We're really lucky.
We're really lucky.
They're not very British, though, are they? It's something very, very different. If you look back to all, the thousands of terraced houses that everyone else has been working on, and then suddenly you got this big branded. But you understand the attraction. I mean, the amenities and the lateral space and the sunset and sunrise and the views. It's very different.
It's incredible, And there's and they do offer things very for everyone as well, which is a lovely thing.
And you guys keep getting invited back to the table because obviously your stuff sells. Which is proof in the pudding.
Our first OWO show residence, we very proud to say that it sold 48 hours after we handed it over to the client. And then we designed something at One Crown Place in the city, and they achieved £17 million worth of sales within 4 weeks. And then Centrepoint, they've sold £36 million worth of property off the back of our designs. In fact, we were with the developer, who was our initial client, and our new client,
Alamakanta,
and our new clients, a couple who have bought one of the 3-bedroom apartments. And they said in front of Alamakanta, we have only bought this because of the design from Angel O'Donnell, which is, lovely. I mean, we're really proud to.
Yeah, that's special.
To hear that. So it's really special.
And you've just been asked to do another project at the OO.
Just finished.
Just finished.
Yeah, just finished. Well, we've worked with 3 private clients. Jobs have pretty much finished now. We're just finished the new show residence there, and we're kind of halfway, 3/4 of the way through another project.
Wow.
For a private client, private couple, client couple. Which finishing around sort of middle of June.
What I love about that is in the OWO, where you've got all of these amazing features, and the base build is all the same, and it's the same actually with say Centrepoint or any of them. But we've created something so completely different every single time for all of these clients. The OWO I mentioned in particular because we've had so many private clients there, and they're all different nationalities, different backgrounds,
different ages.
Yeah, and the age range varies a lot nowadays.
Yeah,
it's not, it's not like I used to be.
Yeah. So the age range for us is probably 30 through to 70, I guess.
Yeah. So
and there's a different aesthetic each time that they all want, and we've hit the nail every single time. And it's just been, you could go into 2 apartments that are identical layouts, but they look completely different, and that's a job well done, because it's a home for these clients at the end of the day, and they could feel that they can walk into their neighbours.
Yeah,
and it's going to look completely different.
But the couple that we went to the theatre with on Saturday, they're still here, and so I said, "Do you want to come and see the new one we've just finished, because it's the public one, so it's fine." And so they came in, kind of snuck them in a little bit, and they were just like, "Oh my God, you guys have done such a great job." Like, they loved the colours. So, it was really great for them to go see an apartment which is, bigger than, the apartment they have. So great to see another part of the building, but also to the point you were making, that their apartment's very different to the apartment we're working on currently. But both of these couples are from the USA. And they were really keen to meet other people in the building. So they, that point of like, you're going to go in, okay, it's a different shaped property, but ostensibly we could have done the same thing, but they're completely different. Yeah. Completely different.
I'd love to I'd love to go see it. And have a look at that. Yeah, really. Before I came, I was thinking. Yesterday, I went to meet a client of ours, a new potential new client in Wimbledon. They're doing this big, beautiful detached house, and they got quite a big name architect and the QS and planning consultants and the whole lot. And we were walking around, and I was asking him a lot of things about the finishes and the detail, and he said, I have no idea about what we're going to end up with, even though he was very focused on making sure that he achieved his overall budget, because he had quite a big scheme. And I asked him, do you not have a designer? And he said no. And I wanted to ask you what you think are some of the most common misconceptions that people have about engaging a designer.
It's going to be expensive.
It's going to be expensive. I think it's not going to be your vision anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to tell you what you should have, not what you want, and how do we realise that for you.
And it's going to be OTT.
It's going to be OTT. Like to our original thing about being commercial as well as creative. And it's, are we going to put something in just because it's expensive or just because we love it? Or are we going to spend the money there where it really needs it and put something, make decisions about that and manage your budget properly?
Yeah.
I think people think I think they just think it's the last thing to do because it is the last thing physically to do. Whereas if you work with an interior designer, as well as maybe an interior architect and the architect, that's where the bed should go. But what about how do you live though? Like, do you eat dinner at formal dining, or do you eat dinner all the time around the breakfast bar or something? So
this family, they need to dress a 5,000 square foot house, and they're spending over £2 million on this, and it seems like it's a misconception that you think it's easy to handle. I can just choose some things, and they don't get access to trade discounts, they don't get access to the guidance that people can provide, and cost saving measures, and access to good suppliers, and all these things. So I think that's a lot of the older clientele, in my opinion, my experience, have kind of been a bit worried about or apprehensive.
Yeah, I mean, I think also there's this kind of belief that they'll end up spending a fortune, and everyone now can be an interior designer from Instagram or Pinterest or whatever. So they can say, okay, fine. Well, I just want that, and I'll be able to get it much cheaper. Whereas I think there are ways, as to your point, you can create value just by thinking a bit more laterally about things. And so, for us where we're working, our cost is completely negated by the value that's achieved on the property, or that could be the increased value. The Bermuda family, they spent a large amount of money, and the property was valued afterwards, and it had gone up by way more than what they'd spent. So in a short amount of time. So I think it is a misconception. I'm not sure whether, in our experience, whether it's age dependent. I think it's probably more nationality dependent. It's kind of where people are from in the world, and how they kind of, what they're used to is a bigger driver.
Thank you, America, for always employing an interior decorator rather than the British necessarily, let's say, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's very true. And they're much more used to the sort of the way it works, and they wouldn't probably dream of doing themselves. But all of these people don't have the time to do it themselves either. I think it depends. If it's your one home that you live in and someone has the time to do all of that. I mean, we always sort of go and, you say, oh, look at that one cushion that's sitting on that sofa. That is, someone has to make it. You choose a trim, you choose a fabric, you send it off. You go, that's like 5 or 6 orders for that one cushion times your 5,000 square foot house or whatever.
Yeah,
it's a lot of admin.
And they're normally bigger in America as well. So a lot of square footage to deal with. What emphasis do you put on creativity versus practicality?
Well, look, we want it to look beautiful at the end of the day, but we also want it to function. So, that kind of thing of, if you walk into a room and instinctively put your hand to the left to turn the light on, and it's up here and you have to reach for it, then that's ridiculous. But just because if you wanted something to look a certain way. And, there's plenty of stuff out there that, if you wanted nowadays, like if you want a white sofa and you've got 4 kids and a dog, you can still have a white sofa, because there's a fabric out there that can be cleaned in a certain way, and it's bulletproof almost, don't, quote me on that. But, and so we can, just by knowledge and sort of experience, really kind of look at those things and go, okay, fine. Well, how can we achieve that? But then if it really isn't practical, then as you were saying earlier, we're not afraid to sort of say, guys, have you really thought about this? That's not going to work.
Yeah.
And this is why.
It's not good design. It's not practical.
You think about from the countless projects you've done, the amount of learnings that you've had in terms of practicality sense, and the feedback you get from clients, to pass that on to people,
the next like the next project. Well, we always say, don't we, every day's a school day, because, as much as you would love to go, I know how to do it all now, you don't.
Yeah.
And
finding your way through.
Yeah.
When we first came in, you mentioned a project right at the start that was particularly challenging.
Yes.
Could we talk a bit about that?
Can do. Want to give me a heart attack? It was challenging. I think that we were probably a bit naive, is the honest answer. When we tried to take on too much. The client tried to probably give us too much, because he wanted just a one-stop shop, and we had bad luck. There was a huge one side. Imagine a pitch roof. One side of the pitch was entirely glass, and it had a huge mechanism where it would slide up and completely open.
Mm-hmm.
And whilst we had contractors on site, it mysteriously stopped working, and it was very hard to, without exceptional cost, work out why that was. And so it was
our fault, of course.
It was our fault.
Were you acting largely as a client PM almost?
PM.
Because I don't think they really wanted us there. And I think that's something that, they engage like that, but really the client really wanted to do it themselves, I think. And then we became more of an annoyance, I think, in that way. And it's how you kind of you could see it turn, because it was all, it's fine, but then you're kind of being directed and you're not allowed, you can't get your opinion heard.
Yeah.
It was difficult. It was very difficult. When we finished, finished just about, but I mean, it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah, it wasn't pleasant. But ironically, we were doing, I think to your point, we were doing 2 projects for them. And I think that they, we managed to do everything that they kind of wanted. But when it got to the point whereby we weren't necessarily needed because they were in the industry, I might add, in property, then that's when we maybe became an annoyance.
But it's a lesson learned. It really is. And, we were saying you kind of listen to your gut, don't you, when you're starting a business, and you listening to as much advice as you possibly can, but ultimately you kind of go, but it still doesn't feel right, or it feels wrong. And not that it felt wrong at the beginning, but you sort of, at the end of it, were like, well, maybe we know now. Maybe we dive deeper and ask a few more questions, because we're not like, Rich is always really good at saying, if it's us that get the job or someone else, just have this piece of advice, or this is what we would advise. Like,
sure.
So we're not afraid to sort of ask that, or just say, we might not be right for you in the end. But that's the privilege of having been successful, is that you kind of got a kind of breadth of that.
Mm. And that now we are now able to say no to jobs. So I think at the start, you can't. You take whatever you can.
Tell me about it. Yeah. What about sustainability? Important to you?
It is important. Yeah, it's difficult in the interior design world, I think. And we couldn't class ourselves as, 100% sustainable. But we do everything we possibly can from like we were saying earlier, we did everything digitally now. We don't put anything on paper or anything like that. And we try and make sure everything we source is ethical and sustainable wood and things like that. And it's, there's lots of products coming out that help us do that as well. Because, building industry as well is not particularly a sustainable thing. So we do as much as possible. And like Richard was saying, make modern heirlooms where they're not throwaway things, the things that people are going to keep.
Yeah, so is that local artisans making them?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, one of them is just around the corner from
is that
where
right?
we're recording this now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's
super.
That's a big thing where there is, if you've got local people, then you're sustainable in other ways, aren't you? They're not hopping in a van to go a short distance. Something isn't coming on an air freight over from the Far East or wherever it may be.
Yeah.
So. But it's hard for us to, as a small business, to kind of track that. And we would never profess to be, we are completely sustainable because we haven't got the metrics to kind of gather it. But we're conscious, we've got conscious, and I think we're sensible in our choices.
I think the mentality of the whole industry has shifted a bit towards always. I mean, back in, you think 15 years ago, I remember the finished project, new client would come in, you'd see 2 skip loads of marble at the front, no consideration of how about it could be reused anywhere, or where fireplaces in the, smashed and thrown in that. You don't see that as often now. I think it's a part that everybody has played, of just being a little bit more thoughtful about it, because of course we could never be completely sustainable. No. But I think it is amazing that when, especially designers and architects too, commission a lot of the pieces from local manufacturers. So it's such a not dying breed, but it is so super to have those handmade. I mean, we're in Denmark, and that's such a it's like a real craft to have that, and it's like people have these pieces of furniture for life.
Yeah, completely.
And then literally hand them down.
We bought some, and we people being open to vintage pieces or having things reupholstered or repainted or refinished, but in a real high level way. And we've got some Danish rosewood chairs for our new meeting room. So,
lovely.
And I think that's design education, isn't it? With things like Insta and what have you, is where people are looking at, if you're interested in design, that's coming, and you're seeing it doesn't have to be shiny and new and whatever. It can be, reimagined in whatever way that is. And it's not the cheap version. It's like kind of like,
sure.
Because you might put a really expensive fabric on top of it.
Yeah, of course. And then if we just look slightly to the future, I don't like the term emerging trends, but
Needed to be.
Good design is timeless, right? But is there anything that you've seen in the future with this, in the world of interior design? I don't know if it's AI or whatever it might be.
That's a good point. We have tried to get on top of or behind AI. It's just that it's there and it's doing things, and it's how can we use it as a tool. We've used it in presentations already to, if you can't, you spend hours searching for an image that's in your head and it doesn't exist. So you could create that to, sort of talk about how you imagine something to look, or, we've created avatars of, to help with presentations to say, oh, this person is the person that could be living here. So it gives real depth and narrative, again, storytelling to the pitches that we do or presentations that we do. So that's been really interesting with a lot of tech clients as well.
We've got lots of tech clients who constantly remind us that we should be using more tech.
Okay.
In fact, so one of our tech clients has introduced us to Icelandic business called Archeo. So Archeo create augmented reality to live draw in a sort of SketchUp model in the property that you're working in. So we've invested into Archeo as a product, and with our Meta goggles and things, and so that we can stand. Our client might be in New York, but we're standing in London in their apartment, and we can draw and show them, right, this is your sofa and this is how big your sofa is going to be, so they get an idea, even though they're how many thousands of miles away. So we're trying to do that. It's we're kind of getting there.
So you think one of the biggest, so if I understand correctly, because obviously with your clients around the world, one of the biggest difficulties, because obviously it's a very collaborative process, or it's not maybe collaborative, but obviously leave a lot of it to you, but you have to understand when the difficulty is being collaborative with them when they're 12 hours away, or sitting on the west coast of America. So do you think that the tech can help you work better? I mean, obviously you can going from Zoom, to complete augmented reality.
I think the tech does help. I mean, we'll always insist that they fly over to us when we're at the stage of seeing samples, because we want to be in the property, seeing those samples,
touching, feeling,
and the light the natural light that comes in and things, because if we sent it to them wherever they may be in the world, it might look completely different. But I think the tech is helpful, and and even with when we're pitching and we're understanding those AI, we're trying to create those avatars of the individuals, and we're using AI to create that, and that's it's really helpful. It actually puts your face to these people who are just up there, and it helps a description to the clients as well, that particularly if this is in the case of something for a developer, where we're trying to say, well, these are the people that we imagine would be living here. This is a typical type of purchaser, or in the case of a private individual, this is what we kind of have on our mind, and whatever it may be, a super large screen that we're creating something which has got 6 meter high by 3 meter digital screen at the moment.
Okay.
And being able to show that on the backdrop of the sort of the staircase and the desk and things that's going in front of it is really, really helpful.
Very helpful.
And that's for, obviously, is that the communal parts of a development?
It's also the speed of it. Whereas, you design something, get some images together, send it to a CGI person, it comes back, it could just be very immediate of creating something, and it's not perfect and it's not the thing, but this is the way we're headed. That's really helpful, because it cuts out a lot of that sort of design to and froing. But also I think, like we were saying about the modern heirlooms, is craftsmanship, and not going back to those, because as you say, they're sort of not dying out, but they're harder to find. But when you can work with those people, it's amazing. And I think, having more of an appreciation that is valuable, and, it's worth paying for that, rather than paying for 3 different things and, bored of them now. You're really kind of, for want of a better word, woven into it. You just did a leather woven, ladder for a bookcase, but it's kind of, you're really part of that journey, and so you're more, entrenched in it, and you value the craftsmanship.
And also, it's amazing to give those craftspeople a platform, which ordinarily they might not get. You imagine these. I think of Amy, who made the leather weaving on this ladder. She might now. Her product that she's made is sitting in a £20 million apartment, and I think that's really important. I think that it's often forgotten that there are some of the wealthiest people in the world come and buy or have bought these homes that we are then designing, and the amount of individuals that are involved, it might stem through us and then down, but there are hundreds of people who make these apartments, the designs happen, and you think of all of their livelihoods and things that is being paid for out of that one interior design job. I mean, it's amazing, and again, we recognise how fortunate we are that the income that we all generate from super prime property, and it's really important, and it's never to be taken for granted. The benefit that these very, very wealthy individuals bring to the UK economy, and it's so far-reaching, and I think many people don't necessarily realise or even understand that.
Yeah, they just hear £1 million tree houses and 100 grand coffee tables and think,
yeah. But then that's whether it's we have people in Wales making some of our things, or someone in Crystal Palace, or just around the corner from here in Parsons Green, and it's like it's amazing. They're able to pay their mortgages and take their kids on holiday and everything else.
Couldn't agree more.
These individuals.
So what's next for Angel O'Donnell? What's the future hold?
Well, hopefully we can sign an office lease.
It's been the hardest thing over the past 5 years, is trying to get our own office.
We're hopeful we're going to be moving into our new offices in central London.
Right.
We are looking at potential sort of expansion overseas. So Ed and I are in the Middle East in a couple of weeks' time. And we're also looking at whether we can, create more formal partnerships with some of our supply chain as well, to again deliver a better, more seamless service for our clients. What
would an example of that be?
Well, whether we can start up businesses with some of our joiners and our upholstery businesses and everything else, to think, right, actually we've got complete control over the delivery of the products that we are making, so that it's as seamless as the meeting us and everything else. So we know what's going on. We've got an app under development as well, which is like a platform for our customers to provide, again, seamless, regular communication, updates.
So your own WhatsApp.
Our own
Everything
WhatsApp.
Seems to happen on WhatsApp.
Yeah. But it's something that they can see a little bit behind the scenes, get excited, because that's what we like. We want to see the change. Everyone loves that, the process. Yeah. It's not just about the end reveal. It's how have we got there.
Get there? Yeah,
the journey.
Yeah, so we're looking at that's it being built at the moment.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Lastly, to any of our listeners who would be interested in starting a career in interior design, maybe in the super prime community, do you have any advice?
Don't do it. We'll do it. We're here. I think it's find someone that if there's two of you, or a team, like three of you, whatever, that do different things in order to sort of service each part of the business. I mean, we have opinions on the things that we both do, and that's fine, and that's an open conversation. But I think that's one of the things. Well, from my experience of trying to do a business on my own and working with other people, like as in fully employed, and then doing this journey with someone that does something different is here
provide
we
a
are.
much deeper level of service that way.
Yeah,
it's not just
because you can concentrate on that part while someone else is doing that. It's almost like the right hand and the left hand moving at the same time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's being in a partnership is great because you can share the successes, you can share
the pain,
and you can bounce around ideas with each other, as opposed to where you're trying to scratch your head and come up with the answer, and it's taking 10 times as long. So I think that's what I would just, partnerships.
When you've had an awful day, just having someone to go for a beer with and say, that's been god awful, but let's figure it out and we'll start again tomorrow. Just that little bit can make all the difference. Yeah. But finding a partner as well is also one of the hardest things.
It is.
To have that.
It is, and often, like in our case, it was luck that we ended up working at the same place previously. So, but it's not to be taken lightly. Running your own business and especially in the super prime space, it's hard, and people expect big things, rightly so, and so you don't necessarily believe everything that you see on Instagram and TV and everything else.
Absolutely.
It's not all glamour. It's hard graft, and it's there are difficult conversations, and actually you have to use a lot of discretion as well. And I don't think we've told you anything today that we couldn't have told you. Destroyed any of the trust that we have with people. So it's it's not to be taken. It's a career not to be taken lightly, and a responsibility.
Very true. Well said, guys. Thanks for coming down and being so open and honest about it. It was fascinating to hear.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. This show is brought to you in partnership with the Better Home Company. The Better Home Company provides exceptional construction and aftercare for luxury projects across the UK and EU.